Hello everyone, and welcome to AH's Image, Brand, and Messaging webinar. It's more than just your logo. I'm Kim Karagosian, Senior Director of Marketing and Communications here at AH, and we are a professional services firm that specializes in helping nonprofit organizations achieve their mission, create value, and advance their causes, industries, and professions. We have 4 main divisions within AH. We have a full-service association management company, a marketing and communications agency, a meetings and events management team, and a division that focuses on other custom solutions such as education, strategic planning, website builds, database integrations, public affairs, certification management, and growing non-dues revenue. Again, I'm Kim Karagosian, and I thank you for joining us today. I have expertise in marketing, PR, and design, and one of my passions really is branding, so I'm excited to present today. The agenda for today is branding definitions, how to get some buy-in from your board, and some essentials in branding for your organization. Throughout this presentation, I'll be providing real-world examples as well, and hopefully you will get some very relevant ideas for your organization. First, we're going to start with some general branding definitions. And according to the AMA, or the American Marketing Association, they define brand and branding as a customer experience represented by a collection of images and ideas. Often, it refers to a symbol, such as a name, logo, slogan, and design scheme. Brand recognition and other reactions are created by the accumulation of experiences with a specific product or service, both directly relating to its use and through the influence of advertising, design, and media commentary. Often what gets confused is the difference between brand identity versus brand image. So think of brand identity as the internal view of the brand. That, for example, is like how your organization perceives and communicates the brand's image to the marketplace and how the organization wants the brand to be perceived. Your brand's image is the personality of your brand. For example, it's how it's viewed in the marketplace and by consumers. A successful brand image is therefore one that matches the brand identity. The identity is how the brand wishes to be known, whereas image is how it is perceived. Thought we could do a quick exercise here and think about what personality traits come to mind when you think of McDonald's. Usually when people think of McDonald's, they think of fast food or maybe unhealthy, which I'm sure is a far cry from how they think how McDonald's wants their brand image to be and how they want people to identify with their brand. McDonald's wants us to perceive their brand as fast, convenient, family-oriented, and even fun. The way my brain works, it's easier for me sometimes to understand what something isn't first. So branding isn't just a logo. Branding isn't just a website. Branding is more than a simple one-word answer. So let's talk about how branding isn't just your logo. Do you know how many organizations I follow on Instagram? I don't, but for purposes of this presentation, let's say I follow 50 organizations. And it can be anything from foundations, close to my heart, to one-woman companies who sell crocheted blankets, to corporate companies who sell $1 million worth of apparel a day. Do you know how many times I see any of those organizations' logos when scrolling through Instagram? 0. Like absolutely 0. Do you know what I see instead? I see stylized photographs that are consistent in their mood and colors. I see someone with their desk with tools laid out. I see someone's hand crocheted blankets. Whatever it is, it influences how I feel about that organization and what I think their values are and who their ideal customer or member is, and if I'm that customer or member. Over time, I learn about this organization. I perceive things about them And I still probably couldn't tell you what their logo is. Now, eventually, I might decide I want to buy something or join, and I think, oh, I bet so-and-so offers that, and I'll head to their website, and I'll think, wow, that looks exactly like what I imagined it would be, based off their Instagram feed. Oh, and that's their logo? That's great. It's so fitting. They have a really well-designed and considered their brand identity. Had their Instagram feed been just daily posts of their logo, would I even be following them? No. Branding is more than your logo, and your logo is an element of your branding, but just an element. So as you think about your organization's brand, you must analyze and understand your organization's purpose, target audience, and how you want it to be perceived. More importantly than that, it includes helping your audience to see the importance of knowing these things about your organization. Branding is everything you are putting out into the world in regards to your organization and works to build recognition, loyalty, and trust. Visually, it does include the logo, but it also includes how you tweet, what your sidebar graphics look like on your website, whether or not your images have a lot of white space in them, and so on. Outside of visuals, it includes understanding what your mission is, where you want your organization to go, and who you serve. Most importantly, it all ties together in a cohesive and memorable way. Now you may begin to understand, or you're understanding, the importance of branding and how it's more than your logo. It's really an identity. It's a perception. But what about your board? Often your organization's leaders don't always understand the importance of branding or the time it takes to actually get it right, and that you might not even get it right the first time, and how it's important to keep adapting and testing until your identity is matching your image. So during this part of the presentation, I hope you get some ideas that you could include in your presentations or proposals or discussions. So these are just some thoughts on how you can get buy-in from your board on the importance of branding. You need to remind them that products have life cycles, but brands outlive your products. In order to remain relevant, you really need to focus on your overall organizational brand. Obviously, your different product lines that you have are important, but how does that affect your overall brand? Brands convey a uniform quality, credibility, and experience. You have to show your authority, and your brand can help convey that. Brands are valuable. For many for-profit organizations, they actually put the value of their brand on their balance sheet. So strong branding enhances current and new product offerings and revenue. Branding helps with differentiation. How are you different from your for-profit and nonprofit competition? And a solid brand gives chapters and special interest groups a foundation to build from. If you're able to provide them with a strong starting point for growth, so they aren't recreating the wheel, that will definitely help you develop consistency in your organization's brand. I have an example now from one of the groups that we work with. The HVAC Inspection, Maintenance, and Restoration Association, or NATCA, has spent time helping to develop themselves as an authority in the space. And I would consider NATCA a sage brand archetype, where sage brands connect with a desire to understand the world and help enlighten consumers. NATCA's brand is one of expertise, and as they continue to build their brand, they dedicate a lot of time and effort to connecting with the media and being a go-to resource for them. For example, NATCA was contacted by a producer with Inside Edition looking to do a sting operation to catch businesses who were making false claims about air duct cleaning and taking advantage of unsuspecting homeowners, mainly the elderly. Inside Edition reached out to NATCA and asked if we could connect with a New Jersey area duct cleaner who could assist. We connected him with a volunteer leader who was head of NATCA's anti-fraud task force. He had a call with the producer and discussed how NATCA could assist in the sting operation, and a week later he went to a home in North Jersey and walked through with the Inside Edition team. looking through the ductwork and making sure everything was clean and in good shape. The plan was to make sure the house was in great condition and then set up a business to come in and say otherwise, advising the homeowner that they were in need of the cleaning. About two weeks later, our volunteer went back to the home and assisted with behind-the-scenes commentary when the business was in the house. In addition to the spot, Natka provided the producer with additional information for homeowners, which they included within an article on the Inside Edition website. Natka was referenced several times as the source of the information and the industry authority. This is completely in line with their SAGE brand archetype and connecting with the desire to understand the world and help enlighten consumers. These are just some snippets of some of the coverage that Natka received from Inside Edition. Another for-profit example is, just think about it, when Four Seasons hotels sold for billions of dollars, what did they buy? Was it the locations, the restaurants, the staff, the beachfront property? I'm sure it all had to do with it, but ultimately they bought the brand. Your brand affects everything, and think about partnerships your associations are trying to establish or speakers you're trying to secure for your event. They have a perception of your brand, and that's why branding should be top of mind and talked about with your board. And also, it's important to think about that people don't really have relationships with products. They're loyal to brands. Think of brands as Russian nesting dolls with many layers that can create great followings of people who find them relevant. Brands can activate a passionate group of people to do something bigger than themselves, like your associations or nonprofits. Products can't really do that. So remember, people have relationships with brands. They're loyal to brands, not necessarily products. So now we've reviewed some brand definitions and ideas to how to get buy-in with your board on the importance of branding. Now let's take that and go over some essentials in branding. And if you can take anything from this presentation, take some ideas from this section. There are 7 essentials that I'm going to go through right now. One is your logo, and these are some best practices in your logo design. And if you're thinking about doing a refresh of your logo or redoing your logo, these best practices you have to keep in mind. Scalability. A logo should be visually appealing and readable at extremely small or large sizes. Think about all the different ways that your logo is going to be incorporated in different mediums and the different channels that you use. Think about how small a Facebook icon is versus where your logo would be on your website. Your logo needs to be scalable so it can fit in different places. Simplicity, a clear and simple message. A logo that has several design elements and tricks will be hard to see at small sizes and becomes dated quickly. Simple logos are really the most memorable. It has to be versatile, easily and quickly readable, whether it's large or small, in black or white, or full color, and in any medium. Needs to be recognizable. Logos build brand recognition. The goal of your logo is to instantly call the brand to mind. It has to be appropriate. A logo should be appropriate for its intended purpose. It should suit the company or organization. Typography, another important aspect of the logo. It should really fit the overall brand. 1 or 2 fonts are ideal. Avoid more than 2. And you should keep in mind how your fonts and how the typography overall is going to look in different sizes. The script, italics, bold, serif fonts, they should all be considered. And the colors. Use colors to your advantage. Colors near each other on the color wheel are often the way to go, and the logo must, keep in mind, must also look good in black and white. Just one quick idea, sometimes when I see a logo with a lot of yellow in it, and if that's part of a presentation or on signage at one of your annual events, sometimes it's often hard to see. So you want to make sure that when you're thinking about your logo, where are all the places it is going to be represented. And yellow sometimes is a color that's hard to see. So this is actually an example from one of the organizations participating on this presentation today. When I was doing some research, it appeared to me that the National Wood Flooring Association went through a rebrand where the top left logo was their old logo and the new one is in the middle. So I thought I'd go through some of the essentials here. In terms of scalability, the new NWFA logo translates well in small or large sizes, and it is visually appealing. It is simple and memorable, and it is versatile as it's pretty easy to read, and whether it's large or small, in black or white or full color. And it also fits well in other facets such as their conference, certification, and member design. I think it's recognizable, and the goal of the logo is to instantly call the brand to mind, and I think that NWFA does a good job with that. It is also appropriate, and I think it is appropriate for its intended purposes, and in this case, and in my mind, in my opinion, the brown color represents wood, and the leaf could represent sustainability or even growth of the hardwood flooring industry, as that is one of their visions, is to help grow the hardwood flooring industry through research and education. The typography translates well in different channels, and I think it fits the brand as well, and the color choice is appropriate and fits the organization. The second essential I'm recommending is having a branding guide. Every brand, from the smallest to corporate giants like Nike or McDonald's, needs a set of branding guidelines and rules to maintain their identity. This document, which can range from a couple pages to several hundred, is the thread that holds together what the public sees from an organization. It establishes the voice and personality of an organization, as well as who the public will see, and it governs every aspect of communications. Think about including in your branding guide your mission and vision, your color palette, your typography, different font uses, your logo usage, how you can use your logo when it's inappropriate, that sort of thing. I wanted to talk through another organization that's participating today, NJLM. I'm assuming that there are a lot of stakeholders that interact with NJLM. For example, just looking at the league services section of their website, I'm sure they have staff that work on their job resources and employer section, their events and meetings, works with advertisers and supporters, with their executive board, league officers, government officials, members, etc. There are many people touching the NJLM brand, from staff to volunteers, and it's important to have a consistent message where everyone understands and communicates the league's mission and vision. It's consistent with their font and a similar tone in their messaging. A branding guide that is shared with all stakeholders can help frame this consistency. The third essential is a style guide, and what we do for some of our groups that we work with, such as the American Association of Heart Failure Nurses, is to create this one-page style sheet. In it, we highlight how we spell out things, and like an acronym, and what the rules are for capitalization, and when do we use dashes, and when do we spell out percentages or numbers. So it's a great quick reference guide to give to different stakeholders of your organization, and you want to definitely make sure you include it in any sort of new staff orientation or packet, or even a new board orientation packet as well. The fourth essential is a spokesperson handbook. This will help if your volunteer leaders are definitely more involved in media interviews, and it helps to ensure consistent messaging and helps them to understand how to field questions on behalf of the brand. Within your spokesperson handbook, make sure to include sound bites. These could be facts about the association or your nonprofit, facts about the industry, and just general product and organization information. Again, this is very good for volunteer leaders and staff to have on hand, because a lot of times they get questions from partners or the media, and having a spokesperson handbook is very handy. The fifth essential is to make sure your organization has a social media policy. And this is definitely determined by each organization, but you should consider including the goal of a social media channel, grounds for deletion or deletion of a comment, posts and comments in a different language, and different scenarios. So on the National Association of Professional Organizers, or NAPO, on their Facebook page, they have this little intro which talks about the goal of the NAPO Facebook page, which is to give its members and organizing enthusiasts a place where they can share ideas and learn in an open forum. They can ask questions about the industry and receive advice on a peer-to-peer level. Whether the question is about running their business or a specific organizational challenge they are dealing with, this is the best resource for help. Now within their Facebook page, they have a separate tab that highlights guidelines for their Facebook community. I'm not going to read this entire thing, but this page in their policy, some of the highlights of it, talks about their zero tolerance policies for spam. Postings by fans to NAPO's Facebook page do not necessarily reflect the opinions of NAPO, nor does NAPO confirm their accuracy. NAPO has the right to remove any posts that don't adhere to their guidelines and can block anyone who violates them repeatedly, and specifics around the types of posts they do not tolerate. So you want to make sure that your organization has a solid social media policy to help with consistency and just how you're going to deal with different scenarios that come up on your channels. If you have a chance, you could visit NAPO's Facebook page and get some ideas for your own social media policy. The sixth essential is a brand review. You really want to make sure that you're ensuring that your brand, you're being consistent. So you need to look at all your channels, whether it be print, your website, social media, etc. You also want to look at the types of photos and images that are being used, as well as the typography. I find it's helpful for someone new to your organization or a third party to conduct a brand review, someone that's not constantly involved with your overall communications, and it's good to get that third party perspective. Another participant on today's presentation is the American Thyroid Association. I did a quick brand review of their site, and overall I thought it was very good. In terms of the types of photos, it looks like they rely on stock photography. In social media, I would just recommend taking another look to see if the fonts and logos are consistent with the ones that are on their website. And one idea I had was to perhaps incorporate the American Thyroid Association's values more in their messaging and imagery. I thought their values of the organization were really strong. For example, public service, patient advocacy, worldwide collaboration, and ethical conduct. I can see that being highlighted more as these are integral pieces into their overall brand. And lastly, the seventh essential is making sure that you're talking about branding in your orientation for new stakeholders. If a new staff, board, committee, chapter, special interest group, or task force leader joins your organization, it's important to have a checklist of what's included in their orientation. And branding should be included, and provide them with, and even try providing them with a pre-recorded branding webinar, or if you could do it live, a branding guide, the style guide, that one-sheeter, and a spokesperson handbook. I think it'll be an optimal opportunity to talk about your brand as new leaders and stakeholders start with your organization. That concludes our presentation. If anyone has any questions or would like to learn more about branding, or even just talk through some of your upcoming branding projects, I'd be happy to set up a call with you. So please feel free to contact me. Thank you.